Oh boy, it is snowing again. My cats haven't seen the snow yet. First time they're going out with the snow. This morning there was a bit of sunshine. I thought, oh finally, the snow's gonna melt. But no, my two other cats don't seem to be very confident in going in this weird white stuff. But one of them is clearly having fun. I don't know if they're gonna stay long, because I mean, it's cold, and this little guy, I know that he has already tried going outside when it was cold, but not snowy, and didn't really like staying more than like 2 minutes. He's Zorro, by the way. And this is Furin, and Sora is over there. They seem to be enjoying it so far. And I just found my shoe that I've been looking for days. And it is completely frozen. I want to check my citrus while it's snowing. We just got down to minus 10 degrees Celsius tonight. My passion fruit isn't looking the best, but it is alive. This is a Tucumanese passion fruit, the blue passion flower. It has also seen better days. But yeah, we're here to check on the citrus. This is a trifoliate orange. Most cold tolerant citrus. I want to use them as rootstock. It's interesting that those kept their leaves. Mine in the greenhouse actually didn't. And feijoa as well. Not a good thing to actually have snow on plants like feijoa and citrus. You might think it's good for insulation, and I agree, but only to some extent, because when it starts melting and then it freezes again, it creates ice on the leaves, which can lead to damage. Now, I don't think this is damaged, no, but there's ice on the leaf, which is probably from last night. But those feijoas will handle these temperatures. I've seen them take worse, but this is a Changsha mandarin. This is frost that penetrated into the leaves, and basically water leaked out of the cells. This can cause dehydration if the tree stays frozen for too long. So that's why I'm happy when I see a bit of sunshine, even if it was only for an hour today, because it means the ice in the plants will melt, and thus the plant will be able to bring water back in the damaged tissues and save them. Now the greenhouse, the top is covered in snow, and because it was announced that we were getting super cold, I decided to cover everything. Oh, it is surprisingly pleasant in here. Outdoors it's currently minus 3 degrees Celsius. It's minus 1 in the greenhouse. The greenhouse isn't enough, as you can see. It's still below freezing, but I wanted to help my citrus make it through winter. They kept getting damaged. You can see, for example, here, a dead branch, which was actually touching the glass at the top. All the leaves dropped, and this branch is partially dead for the same reason. So I wanted to make some distance between the glass and the plants, and yeah, they're doing fine. And again, it got down to minus 10 degrees Celsius tonight. So this is my oranges, and I have a Tangelo grafted somewhere in there. But yeah, everything else is just oranges. This one is US 119, which is part trifoliate, and supposed to be quite good. Lost leaves, but no branch damage, even if it was touching the glass. I could even keep it alive outside, just not really fruiting. All the leaves feel kind of dehydrated, which is perfectly normal because pots are frozen, and frozen pots mean frozen roots. Frozen roots mean no water. Now this Oro Blanco is not doing well. I can clearly see the top got burned. The main trunks and branches are still okay, but there's not much that's still green on it. All of the pomelo here and grapefruit are doing well. What I was worried about was these guys actually freezing, but they actually don't feel like they froze. This is a Thomasville Citranch Quad. It's mostly defoliated, and it only has 5 fruits left. They're slowly changing color. I was hoping for them to be ripe by this time of the year, but no. Even in the greenhouse, Thomasville Citranch Quad needs to overwinter. And here, the mandarins, which are for the most part doing well. And yeah, things are overall doing fine in the greenhouse, which is surprising considering how cold it got. And there's ice in there. Okay? That's not staged. Everything is frozen in there. And me staying in here has already raised the temperature by 2 degrees Celsius. Good tip, if you have a hedge, you can use it to shelter some sensitive plants. A calendula. It looks like the leaves are entirely frozen, which is normal, but those don't overwinter in my area. The hedge actually gives them an advantage, because it's a bit milder in there than it is in the middle of the garden, like in the snow, like these trifoliate oranges are, another citrus. Those are going to be used for grafting. Oh, I also have some subtropical vines, Gufla vines. Oh yeah, it's just frozen. So I think what happens is when the sun came, it started melting the snow, and the humidity froze back on the leaves. This is very deadly for plants like citrus because the frost can pull moisture out of the leaves. And here's an example of one of the rootstocks. The goal is to graft new varieties onto there to increase the diversity of varieties, test out which ones actually survive the cold, and I trial some seedling plants that I have. And all these are trifoliate oranges, which generally lose their leaves in winter like this one, but sometimes they do keep some leaves. I don't know why, but losing leaves helps by limiting dehydration, a common cause of death for citrus. And I'm planting a ton of the hardiest ones around. My two cats. I'm planting a ton of the hardest ones around to eventually put some evergreen varieties on top that are hardy, so I can have a good windbreak, which also helps in protecting sensitive stuff, like this palm tree here. Oh, I also have some citrus along here. All those are rootstocks, which are planted densely, and on this citrus hedge, I'm going to put various varieties. Not the most sensitive ones, the toughest ones. Now here I have my stone fruit area, like this black apricot from Ukraine. The cats love to play in here because I have all my raspberries and other small plants. But I also have more citrus in here, all the way here. I'm making really evergreen hedges everywhere. This Feijoa is dead. I don't know why. It just started dying for no reason in spring. These two are doing fine though, and more citrus. Plus some strawberry trees. Another problem with snow is that it can make branches too heavy and then crack. So good idea to just come through and shake it a bit so snow falls off. But I won't really do it because I know it will melt in a few days and we're not gonna get like mountains of snow. It should be fine. And here's a cat. Another thing I wanted to check is my prickly pears, which you can see one just poking through the snow, but there's a plant underneath. There's a fruit here and another over there. They're frozen solid right now. I'm not sure the fruits are fully ripe, but I know they can overwinter. And a prickly pear from Texas, and yeah, it's frozen solid, but it's been frozen solid before and it has recovered. This citronella lost leaves, which can happen when you have a plant that's trifoliate derived. On trifoliate orange rootstock, you do see more leaf drop. My fingers are freezing right now. And over there I have more citrus. The 5-star citronella, very hardy plant, not damaged, a bit yellowed, but this guy here, N1 trivos, probably itching pepita crossed with citronella. This isn't full wind, but it has taken really cold temperatures, below minus 12 degrees Celsius, and right now it's completely frozen. There's just that growth here that's been damaged. It's been a very tough tree, and yeah, it has withstood very cold temperatures with wind, which makes things worse, which is why you want to shelter your plants a bit like this citronella. I just wasn't lucky because it wasn't dormant. Basically what happened, we had some mild weather approaching frost. It was like 3 weeks late, plus very mild for the season. And then we got hit with a super harsh frost, which was below 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, the tree almost died, but this guy wasn't damaged. And because it was a sudden drop in temperature, instead of a gradual shift towards colder temperatures, trees weren't fully dormant, and I lost half of my citrus, and others got damaged. So this is a chunk pepita, very hardy, and the second hardiest citrus you can find in terms of wild plants. There, that's a yuzu mellow, cross of yuzu and citronella. It is a bit covered, which should help with frost, and no, it is completely frozen. A euxantherin. The leaves are a bit damaged and there's ice on there, and I'm gonna put some light. It's starting to get dark. The interior of the plant isn't frozen, it seems. That's good. Well, the sun has done its job because this plant is not dark green like the changsha. It's true that the changsha is in a more shaded area, but it is important because combination of sun plus winter cold can actually dehydrate your plants. You don't want the soil to get frozen either way. day. Oh, and Tasmanian pepper, doing fine. And same thing here, it doesn't look like it has frozen leaves. This is a Prague Chimera. There's another one here, which has very nice green leaves. No frost issues here either. This is an early yuzu. The one here, it looks a bit stressed. The leaves are drooping a bit, but it has taken much worse. Despite the fact that this is a fuchsia which freezes in winter, the leaves stay on, so it does actually protect a little bit. But ideally you want something like this rosemary, which actually stays green and creates a bit of a protective layer. This is Hanayu. It's looking good as well, and mind you, we go down to minus 10 degrees Celsius. This Hanayu, which I've had for longer and actually did take a lot more cold in the past, including temperatures below 10 degrees Fahrenheit, right now it's a bit stressed. This year's growth is basically cooked, at least the leaves and part of the stem. And this Sudashi, by the way, my cat Zoro, because he's cold, he's following me around meowing. But yeah, this Sudashi, oh, you can actually see some frost damage in there. There's pockets of a different color. That's frost, which isn't good for the plant, but as long as it ends up melting within a few days, the plant will recover just fine. The Skabosu, first winter outdoors, it was looking so nice. Now it's lost half the leaves, which isn't good. For yuzu, that's fine, but for yuzu derived stuff, like this Kabosu or this Sudashi or this Hanayu, you don't want leaves to fall because the plant will flower on new growth, meaning flower buds are not yet developed. So if it's lacking leaves, it's not gonna flower. But something like a yuzu, there are flower buds already on the branches and there will be on new growth. But stuff that's more tropical in nature, it will only flower on new growth. And if it doesn't have leaves, it can't produce these flower buds. It will just produce leaves. And my poor tea plant is getting burned again. Loquat here, another subtropical. This is 4 years old and I don't know why it's not growing more. People in the area actually have trees that look like trees. They don't produce fruit, at least not often, only in mild winters. But still, they have actual trees. I just have like 3 leaves on a stick. Now the Morton citranges, those are a bit of a darker shade of green than I would like, but they should recover just fine once temperatures rise up next week. This is another Morton called Morton SL. It's looking a bit better. Now, a plant like the sage here is a good way to protect your citrus a bit, but as you can see, it is still open in the middle, and that's not ideal. Rosemary so far has been the best protector I've found because it is so dense compared to other plants which aren't so dense or leaves fall off during winter. But yeah, that's basically a few tips and a few things to keep in mind while growing hardy citrus. I hope you enjoyed this video. I can't feel my fingers anymore, so I'm gonna go inside with my cats and probably drink some tea. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. See you next time.